basically everyone's going on strike. Which ones do you have the most sympathy for, Coral?
Well, I think anyone that isn't happy with their pay and conditions, yes, I feel sympathy for. But nurses, for example, the mess that we're in, the NHS are in, is they can't strike. We have got to come to some sort of agreement or compromise or something. I mean, who is actually talking to them? Has the ministers, have they sat down with the unions? How far have they got? What have they offered them? The government has left us in such a mess, and the backlog, people are dying and they shouldn't be. So the last thing we need is them going on strike. And it's the same with all strikes, really. It shouldn't get to the point where they feel they have to strike.
Well, and that's kind of a big point, Coral, and I'll throw this one over to Alan now, Alan in Grimsby, because I think the tide, this is one thing that I noticed over the weekend, that the tide was turning. As we are staring down the barrel of massive widespread strike action, I sense that some elements of the public opinion is now shifting towards the government, saying, how have you let this happen? Your views?
I would agree with you, the other lady on the show, that everyone will have sympathy for the nurses. I don't believe that they should be striking, but I can understand why they might feel that they need to strike. On the broader spectrum of strikes, and particularly with the RMT, I've got no sympathy with them whatsoever, because the drivers certainly are extremely well paid, and every year they hold the country to ransom, particularly the tube drivers. So yes, there should be increases for those lower paid within the rails sector, the porters and the cleaners and people like that. But I've got no sympathy for Mick Lynch, who I think is just an outright communist. People are going to be unhappy, but they've got to come to a reality of what can the country afford, and
well, this is it.
Accept that and not accept it.